Geocachomaniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
Well, welcome to GeoGearHeads. This is episode 206, and you know, this is one of my favorite types of episode. It's a randomized episode. And if you guys are a long-time listener, which I know many of you are, you know my love of Roman numerals. So this is episode XL. Some say 40, but I want to say this is our extra large, our extra long, our extra special episode.
For the sake of our guest, I don't know that we want it to go extra long because he still hasn't had a chance to finish his dinner.
Extra long. Well, that sounds interesting.
Well, and it is a patron bonus show today as well, so we have that patron one. But for anyone who doesn't recognize that extra voice on the line, that's Sonny of Podcaster. Welcome back.
Hey, glad to be here. You know what? I need a little there. Does that work?
There you go. Yeah, nice lower third replacement.
I was not able to figure out the technology in order to get a lower third, so I'll just hold this right there. There you go. So there's my lower third.
We should come up with something like a sandwich board. We could call it a lower third bib. You can wear it. And
yes.
It'll always be in screen with you.
And I could eat lobster at the same time.
Oh.
Yes.
It's a delicious option.
All right. Well, good to be here.
All right. Well, we did ask a question, which we'll get into actually a little bit more, but let's announce first who won the membership to Project-GC. So, Sonny, we'll give you that honor.
Okay, and so that's the person who I have here? Okay, got it. So that was Geocacher McAddies, or Macadies, but whoever that was, he won. And I took a look at his profile, and he's quite an impressive cacher. He is one of the few geocachers that has earned the GSA's highest level. He's an Earth Cache Master. Have you taken a look at this guy's profile?
I did actually take a brief look at it, and I was thinking this is someone who's probably going to get a lot of use out of that Project-GC membership.
Yeah, no, quite. And he's got all these badges, very colorful, and makes me quite envious because they're cool-looking little badges all over his profile. So you should go take a look at it. But congratulations, Macadies.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that either.
Yeah, there's something I don't know about you.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I know, and I have to say I do listen to your podcast, so I think I know a little bit more than a stranger off the street.
Stranger.
Are you a lover of Earth caches?
I do. I like Earth caches. Did you know this, that I was a science teacher in my former life?
That I did know. Yes.
Okay, and one of the things I actually did teach was earth science. And when I was teaching 7th and 8th grade, I taught a variety of things, and I enjoyed covering that subject matter. So, yes, I like earth caches. And, depending on where you are in the country, there are more or less of them. When we went to Hawaii, there was just like a ton of them over there, which is really, really cool. And we found quite a few, actually, out here in San Diego. So
nice. Mm-hmm. So does your former career help you find earth caches? Do you feel you're more proficient because of your background?
Yeah, actually, I think so. I think there are questions. And what's really cool is Sean, he does a good job of not rolling his eyes when Daddy starts going into geek mode. He does. He actually looks interested. He's like this, when I'm talking, and that's a good thing. But yeah, I can sometimes get really frothing at the mouth, excited about geeky things like earth caches, and just start talking rapidly. And about all sorts of stuff. And so we talk about different kinds of rocks, 3 main types, et cetera, et cetera. And so it does help. And even those things that I wasn't aware of, because where were we recently? That there was fossilized stone that was used in an airport. And I didn't know certain things about that, but I was able to deduce it from things that I did know. So yeah, it does help to have that background, but always learn something.
So there you go. According to Sonny, if you want to become a better earth cacher, go be a substitute 7th and 8th grade science teacher.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get back to the question that we asked, and that was tied to a story that I felt Sonny would really kind of get a kick out of about the leap second. And we just asked when it was last applied. But this came from an article in GPS World about retaining the leap second at least till 2023.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let me go ahead and brief people on that. Here's some information from that article. It says leap seconds are added periodically to adjust irregularities in the Earth's rotation in relation to the UTC. And by the way, for people that don't know, well, actually, everybody in San Diego, UTC stands for the University Town Center, which has nothing to do with leap seconds whatsoever. So I looked it up, and actually, UTC stands for Coordinated Universal Time, which actually is CUT and would spell the word cut. But they probably have it UTC because it was a French thing. So it's just probably Universal Time Coordinated for all you people. And I probably offended all our French listeners just now. So anyhow, a leap second was added most recently on June 30th at 23:59 and 60th UTC. And there's a proposal to suppress the leap second, would have made continuous reference timescale available for all modern electronic navigation and computerized systems to operate while eliminating the need for specialized ad hoc time systems. So there's the answer. The last time it was applied was on June 30th at 23:59:60 UTC.
Well, and this was all going down at the ITU World Radio Conference, which is WRC 15 in Geneva just last month, the 2nd through the 27th, which seemed like a really long time for a conference like that to me.
Mm-hmm.
But they've mentioned that they wanted to do further studies to get the to gauge the impact of what it would mean. But the thing that I really found interesting about that is it's things like the earthquakes and the volcanic activity is all like reshaping the Earth and changing the spin, and that's what they attribute to the change of our day cycles, which is essentially what's making this leap second mandatory, I guess.
Wow, isn't that fascinating that there would be any kind of change in mass? I mean, how is that possible that they would the spin cycle, so to speak? No washing machine reference, but the spin cycle is different.
Well, I don't think it's actually that we're changing the mass. We're changing the distribution, which changes the way it's spinning. And remember the big thing that everyone was talking about after the tsunamis and earthquakes in Japan was how they had to redo all the maps out there because some of the roads were like a foot off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So and they were saying that they thought would change the spin of the Earth, and it was like 0.01 seconds or something like that. So that's exactly, I think, what they're talking about being the effect here.
So it's a redistribution of the mass.
Yeah. And things are changing on the Earth, and it's weird to think that the Earth changes that much. I remember a podcaster actually talking about the moving geocaches in Japan, and questioning what that meant.
Well, I can, especially living in Southern California, San Diego, I can attest to the fact that I think what's happening is a lot of people are moving to California because the freeways are so crowded right now. There's just a lot more mass out here, more cars and more people. Of course, I'm joking, but it seems like everybody lives here now because it's no longer a rush hour; it's a rush half a day. Different devices are going to have to be recalibrated for that second. Some of them are going to be electronically recalibrated. Some are going to have to be done by hand. In fact, this device I have here is going to be tricky to recalibrate. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it if they ever have to have the leap second, but it's this. And what I think I'm going to have to do, guys, is I'm going to have to do this, and when that time comes, I'll have to just do that for like a second.
All you have to do is add 1 grain of sand.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Well, that would be
simple.
That would be a leap sand then. A leap grain. I've coined it. It's a leap grain right here. You heard it here first. The leap grain. All right.
All right. Well, let's get to the live questions. So any of you who are watching us live, get an email ready for a chance at a membership to Project-GC. Title that email, randomize40 and address it to GeoGearHeads@CacheManiacs.com. In the body, drop your geocaching.com screen name and the abbreviation for the conference that I just mentioned. Get that right and have it to us by 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Pacific tonight. That's December 10th. And you may be selected as the winner for that membership to Project-GC. But you have to listen for that announcement at the end of the show to claim that prize. So that's only about 10 minutes away, guys. So get those answers moving.
There you go. We already mentioned the answer. So if Daryl, you took it away. We're done.
I took it away. It was on the screen. So
it's so easy to say Project GC is one of the best additions to your geocaching.com membership that you can buy. It really does a lot of good stuff. If you've used the free version, you're going to see that it does a lot. The paid version does even more. Now, we got a note here from Project-GC that says, we're going to be having a stress test next week on December 16th, 2015. During the 24 hours, we will give away subscriptions to random users of Project GC who have used the site during the day. It's important that you're authenticated, otherwise you won't be included in the random selections. Every hour during this period, we will give away 3 months of free subscriptions to 3 different users. The winners will be contacted a few minutes after each hour. If you were one of the lucky ones, don't stop using Project GC. You will get your chance to win again every hour. So after the stress test is completed, we'll go back and add the list of the winners at the news entry. Of course, that's on Project-GC. So again, that starts, that would be 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on the 15th and ends 24 hours later. Cool, right?
Yeah, great way to get a free membership. Well, I'm happy to see them doing the stress testing, but I wonder what might be coming that they're doing that.
Well, if they're giving away so many free subscriptions, won't that kind of stress test it?
I think it will. Well, I think that's exactly why they're doing it. It's stress testing at the extreme. Well, let's move on to some email that came in from Chris RG, and this is going back to our discussion about travel caching. First off, let me say that I fully support the use of WordLens when traveling throughout non-English speaking countries. I found it very, very handy on our recent trip through Italy. Not only did it help with our making the right menu selections at restaurants, but also helped to find a cache. I didn't have data in Italy, so everything was cached onto the eTrex 30. In one town, there was a cache I could not find after about 10 minutes of searching, so I went through the clue, but it was in Italian, and my Italian is not that good. I ended up displaying the hint on the eTrex, then shooting it with WordLens. It was struggling with small characters, but I did manage to see the word gate appearing. I looked around for about 10 meters away. I could see a gate in the wall. I went for a closer look and made the find. After Italy, we went to the UK, and what I used there wasn't mentioned on the show, but it is an option when traveling, especially with locked phones or multiple devices. I bought a pocket Wi-Fi hotspot with a prepaid data plan. I went with the pocket hotspot so that we could use it with our laptop and tablet as well as the phone. I didn't need to change my SIM, and I was able to keep my phone number for calls and texts. You do need to be careful to make sure that automatic updates and cloud syncing are turned off if you want to save the data. We did all of the heavy data when we got to do a pub with free Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So they did have a pub with free Wi-Fi. I hear that's a hard thing to come across.
Yeah, it depends on where you are and what countries, but some countries it's real easy, some not so much. And I really thought that we had mentioned the Wi-Fi just briefly on that show, the hotspots, and there are a few different versions we've talked about on some of the past shows. Obviously, you can go and get one prepaid locally in that country, but there are services that will rent them to you, and some that will do service in almost any country, so it's real easy to just grab and go.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, please. Sonny.
I was just going to ask a question. So I've used WordLens before, and from what I understand, the new Google update for the Google search actually It does a lot of those things. And does that work offline? So if you didn't have that hotspot, I'm not sure if it would work offline, right? Either WordLens or the Google.
WordLens does have the downloadable dictionaries. I'm not 100% sure that the Google Translate does that offline, however. So you may be correct that that is not an offline feature anymore.
Oh no, it's not Google Translate. It's the Google app on the iPhone anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
I believe now if you use the camera, it will do a WordLens kind of translation in several different choice languages. So yeah, it's just
Google Goggles.
Yeah, it used to be Goggles, I guess, but I
think
believe
it's all been wrapped into one now, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, they're kind of
the Swiss Army knife of Google.
Right. Now, I am in the Translate app on the iPhone, and it does have a camera icon that's grayed out. So I can't say what's going on there. But I think that the WordLens was integrated there, and I think the Google app was a cloud only. I think that one does go out to the Google servers.
Okay.
And that was one of the reasons, as I recall, they bought WordLens was so they could integrate it into the servers and use it for their own search functionality.
Yeah. Maybe it is in Translate. Okay. But you said it was grayed out?
Yeah, the option on mine is actually grayed out.
Oh, mine's working.
Yeah, so I'm not sure why it's grayed out, but I've been having issues since the last couple of updates with permissions on my phone, so I'm going to chalk it up to that for now. But
yeah. Online it has I can translate from Spanish to English right now, so it seems to be operating.
Actually, that might be the problem. Is I think it's set right now for
English to
detect
English.
text. No, let's see. If I switch to Spanish, yes, you have to detect the language. It cannot auto-detect the language.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty cool though. It looks like you've got. I know there's other languages here. Spanish. Oh, a bunch of languages: English, Chinese, Japanese, Thai. And there's a detect language choice: Afrikaans, Albanian, Arabic, Armenian. There's a lot of languages here.
Mm-hmm.
There are, but not all of them are supported for the optical.
Oh! It might just be a translate but not optical.
Right.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
you can also speak into it. Of course, that takes data. You could speak into it, and it would translate, and the other person could then speak into the phone, and it would translate it back to you.
But one thing is there's nothing that screams out, "I'm a tourist, please steal my money," like standing on a street corner with a phone, speaking into it with Google Translate.
Well, it also, don't forget, it also has the sketchpad now so that you can handwrite the text. So, I'm just envisioning someone walking away with your phone as you pass it to them when you want to know what the total is for your...
Well, at least you'd be able to understand them as they say, "Thank you for giving me this phone," and as they walked away.
Right, exactly.
Oh boy, I don't think that's the purpose, but I could be wrong. So, talking about data on the go, Billy Robson wrote in via email. He says, "I've just been listening to show 204, and I wanted to add my 10 cents worth. When I travel abroad in Europe and other places, I always bring a Skyroam with me. That's Skyroam. Now, I've never heard of this product, but this is fascinating. This was purchased off of Amazon for $75. With it, I can get internet anywhere in the world for $10 American for 24 hours. And that works out cheaper than most hotels offer. One of the great things is that it's smaller than a cell phone. It will stay charged for 8 hours. It's the best investment we made for traveling abroad. I love it just for the geocaching aspect." So a Skyroam. I've never heard of this.
Wow. You know what? I want to say we did cover that on one of the shows.
Wow. Don't say that, because I would have been on one of those shows.
It could have been one of the ones that you were out.
Yes, of course it was
whatnot.
that one.
Yeah. But no,
Wow.
I do seem to remember talking about that and one other one. The Skyroam, I think, was the one that was like essentially a pay-as-you-go, but there was another option that's global data, and it was like $50 a month for like only 100 or 200 megabytes, but that worked just about anywhere in the world on just about any carrier.
Well, so I'm on Amazon right now, and I see
there you go.
Skyroam, and then there's this thing called the Glow Calm, or Glow Calme, and but this there's two Skyroams. There's a
there seems to be multiple.
Wow.
So I'm looking at one for $125. Pay-as-you-go Wi-Fi for global travelers. Includes 5 free day passes, SIM-free coverage. So, the SIM-free coverage is Europe, North, South America, Asia, Africa, and Australia. So apparently Greenland, Antarctica, no good for you.
No good.
Well, I didn't hear Canada in the list either.
North America.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Canada is pretty much part of North America.
Well, yeah, definitely.
Ah, right. I heard that happened recently. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that sometimes I just don't believe it until it actually works.
Yeah.
Are you talking Canada or Skyrim?
No, I'm talking data in Canada.
Yeah.
No, Canada works. Canada works fine.
Yeah, well, I just don't believe they're not going to charge me $50 a kilobyte.
Well, T-Mobile works in Canada.
I know, and so does Project Fi.
It's slow, but it works.
You're right. Project Fi does the same thing because they're actually using T-Mobile for that as well. And I keep thinking about doing the Project Fi thing. It's just I really don't want to be restricted to Sprint and T-Mobile because around here, if you have those, there's a lot of areas when you go out caching, you just don't get coverage.
Mm-hmm. And I'm reading the description of Skyroam. It does say it's $10 a day. I haven't been able to find speeds.
Yeah, that's the catch.
Yeah, I would think that depends on your carrier at the time. And
it
like one of
delivers HSPA plus, so 3G, 4G hybrid,
but not LTE.
But for $10 a day, if you just needed to grab geocaching, pages, it's going to be great.
So, all right, I have a question. So this is using some local data cell phone network.
Correct.
Somehow. The name Skyroam kind of makes me think it's satellite, but it's not. It says something like instant coverage in 75 plus countries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, meanwhile, Wet Coaster wants to know if he really needs to make a comment about Canada. And yes, I think he does.
We just had to throw that Canada in there, right?
Yes. But the Project Fi thing, it's using the two separate networks and roaming between them, and that's one of the things that only recently has become available again. It actually came with the iPhone 4S was, I believe, the first one that really did it. They had a chipset that would work on almost any.
All right. Not sure if you're still with me.
Well, I'm still here, Sonny. How are you today?
Yeah,
I'm back.
How are you?
Back.
Oh, there's Daryl.
Oh, did I drop off for a moment?
There's
Yes.
Oh, that's not
little
good.
hiccup.
Okay. Well, let me go back to what I was saying then, which was in the GSM and the original CDMA days, not original, but in the days of like the iPhone 4S, we had chipsets that would support just about any carrier globally. Then with LTE, we went back to very, very narrow carrier support. Mm-hmm. And with the more recent phones, you're seeing more and more of them that support multiple carriers, and that's what enables things like the Project Fi service to actually work, because now you can have multiple services supported, and with a lot of the newer phones that you're seeing come out, they're doing the SIM-free thing, where it has a SIM emulated in the phone itself. So essentially we're going kind of back to the CDMA ESN kind of thing, but you don't have to have the SIM for that specific carrier anymore, and that's what the cool thing is about that. Well, let's move on. Yeah, so it's only going to get better.
Yeah, I'm really contemplating going out and buying one of these.
The Skyroam?
The Skyroam.
Are you?
Yeah.
Wow. So did he say he has one? I mean, I know he said he wanted to put his 10 cents. It would be good to get
which
a
was
review
purchased off of Amazon for $75.
Yeah. Okay.
He speaks very past tense. Yeah. I get internet. Best investment we made. Yeah.
Yes, I'm considering it myself. Actually, I have Canada right across the river from me, and one of the reasons I don't go there is because it's so expensive for data and text message. Text message because I forget to put it into airplane mode or something will cost me 50 cents.
Yeah. So after the initial purchase, you just pay as you go. So if you don't pay the $10, you can just keep it in the drawer until the next time you need it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Oh,
$10
yeah.
for 24 hours.
Yeah. All right.
So that layover, next time, that's what you want.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. We'll move on, though, to some more news about the Galileo satellites, again from GPS World. And the ESA has declared the 7th and 8th satellites fully operational. So these are the most recent two to have, or second to most recent two to have launched. They've finally reached their orbit, undergone all the testing. So 7 and 8 that were launched back in March that we had talked about have finally been certified. They're in their final orbit and ready to go. So we're getting closer, especially because Galileo 11 and 12 are due to launch on December 17th.
Oh, wow, it's coming up.
Yeah, so real soon. And this is also going to launch from French Guiana aboard a Soyuz again. Hopefully they won't run into more of those issues. But it's the 10-year anniversary, I guess, of the Glove, I guess is what it's pronounced. It
looks like glove. I would say, Giove, but it's the Galileo in-orbit validation element.
Yeah. So near as I can tell from the article, this is going to be what they need to actually bring the system online are these 12 satellites. They still need more to get to the full system, but this will give them everything they need to actually bring the system online, and hopefully we'll start seeing receivers and stuff supporting it once we get the system online and certified.
So 7 and 8 are operational. 11 and 12 are going to be launched. 9 and 10 we do not talk about.
Well, I believe 9 and 10, and I'm just going from memory, but I believe 9 and 10 were the ones that launched and successfully made orbit. I believe 7 and 8 were those ones we talked about where the rocket malfunctioned and didn't get the satellites into a high enough orbit.
Oh, really? So, a little background there. What happened on that? Did they...
The Soyuz rockets cut off early, so they were, I want to say something like 1,000 kilometers short of the orbit they were supposed to be in. And when we were looking at it on the show, it was really significant cutoff. And it's like at the bottom of the range rather than at the top, because these are supposed to be at the high end. So, they're supposed to have much, much higher orbits than like the GPS satellites do. So
they didn't deploy? I mean, they
deployed, but at the lower altitude because of a problem with the launch vehicle, with the Soyuz rockets.
Oh, okay.
So they had actually halted the launches until they had figured out what had gone wrong, and it was determined it was a malfunction of the rocket. So I'm not sure exactly what happened, but they were cleared to perform the next launches, and those went fine. So hopefully we'll have all of these correct in the right orbits. Now, LIMAX actually says that this is going to provide limited coverage to begin with, kind of like they were doing with Loran in the 80s over North America. So that makes a lot of sense. This is definitely not the full constellation, but a lot of those satellites that they plan on are redundant satellites, so you don't have a satellite go down and all of a sudden the whole system stops working.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Or you get an area that doesn't work. But you always need to have extra satellites within view of your receiver to make sure that they can talk.
And that's the only reason we can't find geocaches.
Right. That's because of all those aging GPS satellites that haven't been updated. right?
That's what I'm going for. Yes.
Well, it's good to have spare satellites up there, and just to have them up there just in case.
Right.
Because there's not enough stuff up there already.
Right.
Well, we talked about getting data when you're out of your normal, well, in this case, country. But Astronet brings us something else. It's called a GoTenna. They're sold in. Yeah, this is fascinating. They're sold in pairs. It connects to your mobile device and another GoTenna up to 4 miles away. You buy two of them for $200. You pair your GoTenna with your smartphone via Bluetooth and use the app to connect with other GoTennas up to several miles away. Now, in an urban area, you get a maximum of about a mile, 4 miles in open areas. It uses Bluetooth low energy. And get this, it's using a 2-watt VHF radio. That's really how it's working. 151 to 154 megahertz between the two. And then you use the app. You have to use the GoTenna app, and you can do messaging and location sharing on those phones. It's not going to get you full internet access, but it's going to allow you to communicate across 2 devices.
Okay. And so, yeah, I'm taking a look at that. And so it's using radio to do messaging, like maybe text messaging and location sharing, but not voice.
No,
Correct.
not voice.
Correct.
And it's using radio, so it's not using satellites or anything else. Yeah,
right, and it's the 2-watt VHF radio in the 150 to 154 megahertz band, which they claim will get you about a mile at most in an urban area, or if you have a direct line of sight, like across a lake or field or something like that, you'll get about 4 miles. So it's not a huge distance, but that's to talk between the GoTenna units, and then just to talk with your phone is using the Bluetooth low energy. Right. So you put the phone into like the airplane mode, turn on your Bluetooth again, and saves all that battery power for all the extra radios. And then you're just using it for text messaging. And it did say it has like group chat and a broadcast mode as well.
I was going to say, I think the greatest application of this, now it says 2 for $199, but you're probably able to get people into the same groups and things like that to be able to text to each other, I would assume.
Yeah. Once you have multiples, then you're going to do it. But Limax believes that that's the FPRS bands, which it could be. Because he's thinking it's the 50 to 154 megahertz. So
it's the multi-use radio service band.
Right. Okay. Right.
The MURS.
I think the family stuff, which is the FPRS, if I remember, is actually in that band, and that's one of the reasons why it's not all that powerful. It's intended for a lot of people to use it. He says it's just above the 2-meter ham radio band.
Okay, and so it's out of the frequency that requires licensing.
Right, and well, it requires licensing if you go over 2 watts, if I recall, and that's why all of these things are set up for like the 2-watt range, because at 2 watts you don't need a license. If you go to like for the 5-watt range, then you have to have a license, and some of those radios will have the 5-watt mode that you're not allowed to turn on without the license in the U.S.
But aren't there certain restricted bands also, for instance, 2-meter, that you wouldn't be able to use without licensing?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
it's
several
not just the power of the radio that determines whether you need the license. It's also what bands you're operating on.
Right. Well, I could see this being useful if a group, because obviously if you're within cell range, you use the cell phone and all the tools that you have access to there. But if you're out of cell range, let's say you're out in the middle of the desert, or I don't know, in other places where cell range is not going to apply. Yeah, honestly, maybe you're group caching and you want to stay in touch with each other, or maybe you're out camping, and it's an easy way to. Although those FRS radios that you're talking about, I think those have within a mile or 2 mile. They're supposed to be line of sight and point to point, but a lot of things can mess up that, just like you're saying, Daryl.
Yeah, so I like the idea of these. I don't think it's necessarily worth the $100 a piece, basically, to do it. But if you have an application that would be helpful, and yeah, I could see like the hunters especially using it, because you could send a location without having to get into voice communications and text little bits of data. Hey, come over here. I've got it's great for these kind of applications. And if you have a group out doing like a search and rescue, maybe that would be helpful. But for that kind of stuff, I still think you're better off with voice communications.
Yeah, a lot faster. But like you said, I mean, maybe if you're in a deer blind or something and you didn't want to alert the deer and didn't want to talk, then you could text quietly or something. Unless
exactly
deer texting.
Yeah.
Now, if they started doing the tracks, if they started sending like the full telemetry type data, that I think would be a lot more valuable for like the search and rescue.
True.
Because then you can see where, okay, all of these people have gone this way. So here's the holes that we have to start filling in now.
Yeah. Well, interesting technology though, and that came from Astronaut, right?
Correct. Yeah, but it's if you're in cell phone range, I'd say just go for something like Glimpse, which we've talked about many times on the show.
Oh yeah.
That's actually going to give you that real-time tracking and everything, but it does require the data connection, which is what gets so nasty about it.
Yeah. I'm surprised how far the communication on just those family radio service ones go. We'll often use that in cars. We have several of them here. We keep them charged, so anytime we need to hop in the car and do a caravan, we go down to Mexico or something, and there's several people. It's a lot more convenient than using the cell phone. It's very quick communication, but we use those things all the time. Really helpful.
Yeah, they're great tools to have, except when you get into a really, really crowded situation. Like, don't expect to use them at any kind of amusement park.
Like Disneyland?
Right. Yeah, Disneyland, Cedar Point over here by me. That's another one. But even if you go to like some of the art fairs, don't even think about using it at the Ann Arbor Art Fair. There's so much noise.
I promise I'll use it when I'm there.
we were there a few years ago playing with it, and it didn't even work like 5 booths away.
Wow.
You just couldn't get a signal that you could actually use because there was so much noise.
Huh. Okay.
Interesting.
Well, Subway Mark had sent us a few of his bugaboos about logging that he wanted us to mull over. So let's start off with his first point, which was logs with just TY, yes, TFTC, or something, or even nothing. I don't think this one is ever going to come to an end.
No, and as much as I use my cell phone for as a GPS now, I still type out, or in this case, I speak out a decent log. It's not that much more work.
Well, I was going to say that I think if people will start using that dictation in the phone, you'll get better logs. Because I'm seeing that more and more often. You might get some weird autocorrect kind of situations happening. But you get the longer, better logs. And this actually kind of goes back to Jeep in Idaho. 3-4 years ago, had been playing with one of the voice hosting services, and he actually just posted a link in his log to the voice recording of his find.
Okay.
And that was very cool, but as you can imagine, annoyed some people, because back then you didn't necessarily have data service on your phone, and if you did, it might have been too costly. So they didn't want to have to go and grab those logs to figure out what he had said.
Yeah. So this bugaboo that Subway Mark is referring to is logs online. He's not talking about the paper logs inside the geocaches, right?
Correct. Well, at least that's how I recognize it. And if he's asking, or if he's talking about the actual logs in the logbook, well, I just am surprised people are putting anything other than their name anymore, because most of the time those logbooks are not the biggest things, and you're putting, if you're lucky, their full name. Most of the time we have to abbreviate to the initials now, because it's just that small of space.
Exactly.
Either that, or the log owner or the cache owner has to come back and replace the log every couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, you write out a full name on a nano, you've used half the log sheet.
We've talked about on our show about about why people have such short logs and how much cache hiders really appreciate more feedback, because especially if you take the time to put out a great cache, it's those logs are like applause, and what you're waiting for is applause, especially some of these amazing gadget caches I've seen recently. I mean, I just can't imagine somebody just putting TY on there. And as a cache owner, if I put all that time in a workshop or camouflaging it, yeah, you want that kind of applause as opposed to crickets. You do all this, you go, here's my cache, and you just kind of get a TY. Why do you guys think that happens? Do you think it's because they're high finders? Do you think it's because they, don't feel like writing, or do too many in a day? What do you guys think?
Well, I have a theory that it's actually coming from the intro app now, and it's not just the intro app, but with the intro app, I'm noticing now that I'm trying to use it a little bit more the last month or so, it's really tough to use that app and do good logs.
Okay.
Because it posts live, and you don't have a queue where you can go and say, just, okay, found it, go back, like as you're walking to the next cache and clean it up, or when you're sitting at the coffee shop. Because it's doing that live posting, you have to do it right then. It's just, I don't have the time, I want to move on, I got to get out of the rain, whatever that is. So it's just do the minimum to submit that log and move on. Now, in many cases, people go back and edit those logs. And I certainly don't have problems with that. Actually, Sonny, you and I talked about this probably about 8 years ago, using the WAP interface from those old flip phones. All I would do is put the time that I found it. Then I'd come back, and this is in the days before we had field notes even. So a live log, and part of that was so I could drop the trackables or pick up the trackables so people knew it happened right away. But then I'd go back and do the full log that night or that next day, but the cache owner might not see that full log because most of us don't have the log modifications enabled on geocaching.com.
Yeah, very true. Very true. So, and some people, in order to not post right away, will post a note. And so when they'll post a note, and then, but that requires them, in order to get that smiley, to go home and actually type out that log.
Right. Plus, that will then still show up in the app as an unfound cache until you actually post that found log.
That's right. So I don't know. As cache owners, we appreciate those written out logs. But I don't know. I can kind of understand, especially if somebody's just a high finder, or doesn't spell well. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's etiquette. We've got, with the intro app, I think we've got a new wave of cachers coming into the game, and I don't know if they understand the etiquette of leaving a log. What's it for? And if they've never hidden a cache, they don't know that the cache owner gets those responses.
Well, and here's another point of with the caches becoming more and more the park and grabs and fewer of the significant hides, people aren't seeing the effort going into the hides as much as they used to in the finds and everything else, so it's kind of a cascade effect at that point. So I don't think there's any one thing that you can point to and say this is why. It's a whole host of things, and I suspect that we're not going to ever see it go back to the big long logs outside of a few people. But even when I got started, the logs online weren't all that elaborate. It was a few years later that they started to get more elaborate and then back down again. So I think we're just at the bottom of a log length, and then we'll probably see that tick up a little bit and then probably come back down. It's an ebb and flow kind of thing.
I remember decades ago, it seems like I wrote an ode to the LPC, and it was a poem that I read on the show at one point and left it as a log. But yeah, I haven't done that. Actually, I haven't written any logs for LPCs in the recent past. But Chris, I think you're right. I think we do have a new breed of cachers, and the way they find out about geocaching and their very first experience with it, I mean, we sound like old cronies now. Like, oh, you remember back when we
Yep.
didn't have smartphones, and totally true. And everybody was writing these lengthier logs. But I think you're right. You know, we have a new breed of cachers that are being introduced to geocaching, and that's a double-edged sword. I think in some ways it's really good. It gets more people. It lowers the entrance, the threshold, right? So people can start up. But the culture is like, oh, okay, this is all you do. You just kind of say thank you, or somebody teaches them TFT, you know, thanks for the cache, and they move on. They think that is the norm. So.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a coworker who I just found out was a geocacher. She went out and found 6 caches this summer. So I looked her up online, looked at her logs, and one log says fun, another one says yay. So, you know, single word entries. And, you know, and I should actually pull her aside and say, now, why did you do that? Did you know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not.
Do a little exit interview right there from the cache.
Well, Limax in the live Q&A says that he's gotten quite adept at writing succinct and informative logs on his cell phone.
Oh, good.
And I want to say that of the logs I'm seeing with like actual content, they don't have all the fluff that they used to.
Right.
It's you know, found it, you know, here's this, here's that. You don't have the meandering stories that we got for a while, like about 2007 and 8. I remember seeing a lot of logs, and they were largely copy and pasted too, within some modifications. That were, you know, hey, we were on our way to our grandmother's house. You know, we went over the woods and through the snow, and you know, blah 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 blah, and then we found this cache. You don't have as much of that anymore.
No.
And
All right,
so
well,
Rita says that this is another important reason to mentor newbies.
Exactly.
I was going to say we should have like a geocaching academy or something, or at least prep school. You know?
I really think it would be a great idea if, and I think it really needs to come from geocaching.com, if geocaching.com would have some kind of like mentor registry. So when you get through finding your first cache, it says, or maybe it's the first 5 or 6 caches. They go through, you know, log the cache and say, hey, congratulations on your first find. You know, here's some other cachers in your area or nearby that said that they'd like to mentor you. If you have any questions, get in touch with them. You know, something along those lines. But I think it has to happen at that level. I think if it's separate, you're not going to be hitting the people who need it as much. You're going to be hitting the people who are serious about it. They're going to get into it. They're going to do the research. You're not going to get as many of those casual finders.
Hey, you know what would be cool? I mean, I just thought of this right now, so maybe it's not cool, but I'm thinking at this very second it's cool. But what about this? What if Geocaching HQ put out sort of like an online video course, right? And then what you would do is you basically watch it, and then it shows you how to find caches. And then you accomplish that. And then it shows you how to hide a cache, and you accomplish that. And then it shows you how to like attend an event, and I don't know, strike up a conversation or something. Anyway, it walks you through sort of like these video tutorials, and at the end of it, and I don't know how anybody would check for it. I suppose you could cheat your way through it, but then it would also show you how to like write a log, and show you why you would write a good log. But then at the end, wouldn't it be cool? Because then they could say, you know, check this box if you watched the video and did it. And it would be all self-policed. But at the end, a true newbie might actually get watching these little snippet videos, and at the end they would get a souvenir that says they are a certified, passed the geocache. So at least they'd get introduced to the idea of logging longer logs at certain times, and etiquette of not, you know, trampling things or walking on private land. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely. And they have played with some of that in the past, but part of, I think, what their problem has been, they try to not use too much voiceover or text because of the international audience.
Oh.
That is a hurdle that they're trying to overcome.
Oh, good point.
But yeah, I can see just doing it as like a title track, or not a
so we need to do it like a Tom and Jerry cartoon that doesn't use words.
Pink Panther.
Right.
Okay. Well,
but
I've been
doing most of that just as the subtitles.
Like Daryl, I've been using the intro app more and more, And one of the things the intro app does is, oh, hey, you're looking for a traditional. Do you want to watch a video on what a traditional cache should be, or a multi, or they could do it right then. Hey, you've just logged your first find. You want to watch a video on how to write a good log?
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Right on the intro app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I kind of think that if you have like no finds on the intro app and less than 10 finds in general or something like that, you should be forced, when you hit that, found it button, you should be forced to go through some of those little videos. And
Mandatory log training.
Yeah, each of those steps, because it is the intro app. So if you have a new account, take them through each of those steps and, walk them through. Okay, we're going to find a cache. Here's how to find the cache. Okay, here's how to find which cache you're going to go for. Okay, now that you found it, here's what you do next. And in that process, you have to tell them about things like the trackables, too. So maybe that's something that doesn't get tripped until they hit a cache that has a trackable registered, or maybe it's just a large enough cache. Something. So I think the intro app, as they've stated, is going to become the sole app for geocaching from geocaching.com. But in the process, I think we're going to lose some of that tutorial nature that we really should have had that never really kind of panned out.
Yeah.
It might just be that it's way too costly for them to do that, and that's why we're not going to see that.
Yeah, it would be neat if you truly were a newbie, that you could turn on a switch or say, I am a newbie, and then it gave you these features, and if you didn't want to see it, then you wouldn't be tutored through it.
Yeah, I'm thinking the opt-out checkbox kind of thing. So it's, it pops it up if you are a newbie, and then you hit the skip, don't show this to me again.
Yeah, but if you have it checked and you say, I am a newbie, maybe you can have something like where you're typing the log, and then you hit send, and it says, I'm sorry, that was not long enough. You did not say you did not say nice enough things to the cache owner. Please try again.
Well, and there was, I think there still is, a requirement that you have to have a non-empty log, but what people have been doing is putting in code. So they'll have like the BB code for bold, and they'll bold and unbold, and that's it. That's their log. So it doesn't show anything. So the log's not empty. But they're going out of their way to do nothing.
To leave it blank.
Correct.
Oh, see, that's intentionally, being weird or mean or something. I mean, why would you put that? Why not just hit, at least TY? Now TY sounds really good, right?
Well, and this is one of my questions on like a broader scope. Should we really be even requiring logs anymore? You don't have logs in a lot of the other games, and I still think we do. Geocaching is not like finding a Munzie.
Yeah.
It's not like White Coaster is noting that Ingress has the training built in the app so that newbies can get some of the basics of the game, and he thinks that Groundspeak should have something like that. But that's a very different kind of game that you have to play, through that. And again, there's no logs there, but it's a very different type of game.
I don't know. I mean, there seems to be not that many things that you do in geocaching, right? And that seems to be one of them is logging. And
it's about the experiences outside, and that has been changed because we're doing more of the park and grabs. It was a very different game when you'd go and find a cache, maybe 2 in a day, than when it started changing to finding 12 caches in a day. And now
very
you
true.
can find 50 to 100 caches in a day in an urban area.
Yeah.
Changed again. So, and it's also the kind of game that you can play going to your grocery store.
Right. Well, that's what that was my comment. Changes. I mean, some of the caches really don't, and some people hide caches just to hide a cache, and I get it. I totally get it. And some people find a cache just to find any cache. And for those, if somebody were to put just a bunch of initials or bold and unbold, for Pete's sake. But anyway, if somebody were to do that, okay, all right. But when somebody puts effort and creativity and imagination into hiding that cache, or maybe it's a special place. This place was really special to me and my son because we used to come here and I taught him how to fish or whatever. I think those kind of caches that are meaningful deserve something. And that's just my opinion, I know. But I think it's going to be a long time before I only just put bold and unbold in a cache listing. That's crazy.
Well, we have one more comment we'll go to from White Coaster on the subject. I've noticed that some of the long logs posted lately seem to be from people on vacation, and they are just copies of a story about their trip on each of the cache finds. So it's going back to the same thing that I was talking about seeing years ago. So yeah, maybe we are on an upswing again, and a lot of it, I'm sure, is because everyone's talking about it. So the second point that he wanted to talk about was
Number
logs.
two.
Number two. So that was the first one. That was just point number one.
Yes. So logs that state they forgot a pen, so they did not sign the log. If the cache size is a micro, were they thinking it would have a pen? A writing instrument is just as necessary as a GPS to find caches, is it not?
Yeah. Now they're talking about obviously the paper log in the log, not online.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just a log or a cache I was looking for just today has a log in it with a photo, and the person says, "I forgot my pen, so I took a picture of me holding the cache."
And they put a what? How did they print a photo? They printed a photo
They took a photo with their phone.
Oh, and then they put it online.
Put it on the online log. Yes.
Oh, okay. I got
So I didn't have a pen, but here's proof that I found it.
I don't know.
See, then you're almost into spoilers at that point, but
well, I've heard
of
people doing that where they'll post a photo of them holding the log, not to the cache page, but they'll send it through the messenger now, but usually through to the email and say, hey, sorry, I brought the pen or the pencil, it just didn't work, or it fell out, whatever. Can I claim the fine based on this? I've also heard of people who have signature items like a path tag, and they'll say, hey, my pen didn't work and I dropped it in, didn't have it in my pocket, whatever, so I dropped the path tag in to prove I was there. That, accidents happen, but if it's a reoccurring situation, then you have to kind of wonder.
Exactly.
If you're dropping something physically into the cache, I don't have as much of a problem with not signing the log, but you really do need to sign the log.
Yeah, and you know what? We have rarely not had a pen because we have multiple writing instruments on us, including pencils and things like that in different caching bags. You can get pens that'll fit in your wallet. I mean, or you can attach it. Well, I've heard some people attach it to their GPS so that they can have it, or stick it in your hat and things like that. There was rarely a time when we didn't have a writing instrument, but there was a time, and it was a little bit over a year ago. I went for a run in the morning in Norway, and my intent that day was just to go running. And I usually go run with this app that keeps track of my mileage while I'm running. Anyway, I said, I think I'll go find a geocache. Well, I didn't have anything on me besides, my running clothes and my shoes, and so I had no pen. But I was not about, and it was a difficult place to get to, so I knew I wasn't going to get back to that cache. If it's local, you might just say, okay, I'll come back and do it. But I really needed to sign that log, or at least I felt I did. So what I did was I took leaves. I kid you not. I took leaves and a little stick, and I got enough chlorophyll, the green, to just put TP for Team Podcaster, because it was important enough for me to. And Sandy and I have talked about how some people have put blood, and I think that's sounds really unsanitary and unhealthy to do that. But I guess blood, sweat, and tears for some people is geocaching. But yeah, I put TP on that log out there, and it counted, at least in my head. So I don't know.
You can use a leaf like a piece of carbon paper.
Yeah, right.
Put the leaf on top, sign on top of that, and it's something.
It's something. Yeah.
White Coaster in the live Q&A says, a couple of times I haven't had a pen and not realized until after I find the cache. Oh well, I guess I'll officially find it another day. I go back to the log another day with a pen, sign the log, and record the find on that second visit.
Yeah. So.
I agree, but what if you're out of town? You're traveling back and you go, oh, this is really cool. I'm going to stop and find this is a highly favorited cache. I'm an hour and a half from home. I'm not coming back.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, or if it's in a difficult to reach location, time of the year might make a difference. So I've only had that I can recall one time that I had to email the cache owner because my pen didn't work, and I keep a space pen in my pocket at all times. So I never had a problem with it until one day it stopped working. So I actually did scratch my initials on there.
Okay.
But you couldn't see it because it was just the ball. And of course, this was like it was like coming back from a trip somewhere in like an LPC at a rest area or something like that. So there was like nothing around.
Yeah.
So it's like, fine. No, it wasn't that. Couldn't have been that easy because I would have been right near the car and I have backup pens in the car.
Couldn't you have chewed pine needles to make an ink of some sort, Daryl?
Well, I remember there being like no trees or anything around it.
Oh, okay.
Because I was thinking, hey, if I even get the tip wet,
yeah,
I could at least emboss my name on the log. But yeah, there was like nothing I could do, so I actually grabbed the photo and sent it in.
You know what I started carrying for a while was those Bic pens that have four ink things, different colors. Well, I found small ones, so they're not the full size ones. Not that the full size ones are huge, but I mean, I found like mini size ones. I was looking for it here. I don't seem to have it. Anyway, they're only about this big, but the cool thing is you've got 4 colors, so if one goes out, hopefully all 4 don't go out at the same time. And those are really, you can find them online. You can get a pack of these, those Bic 4-color pens that are about this big, so they're not the big size one. Anyway, that's
exactly what you're talking about, and I thought I had something nearby as well, Sonny, but I don't seem to.
The 4-color pens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that way you find 4 caches in a day, and you sign each one in a different color ink.
There you go. You go. Yeah.
Oh, that's not what that's for?
No, you use different colors for how you have a pen on caches.
My car was a.
Oh, we're losing.
All right, well, let's go to. We are having some weird. Yeah, we are having some weird issues with our connection this evening. So we'll try to carry on. Wet Coasters said that he got to a cache years ago only to find that it appeared he didn't have a pen on him, and the car was a 2-mile hike away. Thankfully, that cache had a pen. Later on his way back, he found his pen in his pocket.
Yikes!
Actually, that was Limax.
That was Limax.
Yeah.
Now, I have gone caching without a pen. Looked to find a larger cache, went and robbed that pen, and then came back and signed the smaller cache.
Nice.
That'll work.
Yeah, okay, I have to find an extra one in order to log this, but. So.
Now that actually gets into kind of another question about what happens when you have like those damp logs and stuff that won't take a signature.
Yeah.
Or where the log is full, and you don't necessarily have another sheet of paper. If it's a wet cache, I won't put another piece of paper in there because it's going to get wet anyway.
Right. You're just going to add to the mush.
Right. So for those, those I'll try to scratch something in, just initials at least. And a lot of times I'll put the note on the cache page. I've even on a couple of them put a little note to the cache owner and sent a photo at if they asked. Mm-hmm. But I've never had any of those that they've actually come back because it's like, yeah, I know there's an issue with the cache. You found it. Thanks for pointing it out.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. I recently found a magnetic cache. Cache that's just magnet with a log on the back, and the log was not right in the rain paper. Yeah. So by the time I got done writing my name, which isn't that long, it's 9 characters long, the first ones had just bled, into unreadable blob of ink. It's like, oh, yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of the pens are worse about bleeding than others. So I
usually have a Sharpie with me, but even that didn't seem to make sense.
Yeah, Sharpies tend to bleed a lot in my experience on those wet logs. So,
yeah, I don't know if there's an answer to. Yeah, I don't know if there's an answer to if it's completely soaked or really totally drenched. And Chris, what you're saying about the those magnetic caches, the flat ones. I know exactly what you're talking about. But I know some people that carry small fold-up logs, and Daryl, what you brought up about it being full is another issue too. But if you carry them in those little they're little snack bags. It's not like a full sandwich bag, but they're kind of narrow, and you just fold it up there, carry about 3 or 4 of those, and then refill as needed. But that way, if you put that in there, not only does it put a new log in, but it's already inside this little plastic little plastic bag, and you could actually put it in a wet thing. So I don't know, carry a few. They don't weigh much, No.
Yeah, assuming that the cache has room for it, because I won't take a log out that's already in there. And you get into a lot of these micros, and certainly like a nano, you can't replace without taking out.
Right.
Unless it's been chewed up. But
Sonny, I have gone back to the car because I've forgotten my pen.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
There's not a chance I'm going to take another log with me. No.
Right.
No, I do have some logs in the car for just that purpose, but I don't have enough of the snack bags. You're right to make it worthwhile.
Yeah. Hey, well, don't you wear a Tilly hat too, or one of those hats that has like a little pocket in it?
I know. I'm thinking the same thing. Exactly.
Yeah, right there.
That's what that pocket's for.
Yeah. Why don't we wrap up this extra long show though, because it is extra long, and I'm sure Sonny's getting hungry.
Yeah, I've got my dinner next to me. No, this is good. I'm enjoying this. I forgot about my hunger for a little bit.
Oh, excellent. So if anyone wants to catch Sonny and I, we're going to be in the first hour of the Cache and Release show on Sunday.
Yep.
And then, Chris, you're going to be on the second hour.
Hour number 2.
Yeah, so hopefully people will tune in for that, and there are going to be some live prizes for that one as well.
I got my beer.
Oh, excellent. Do we want to preview our beers, or we want to hold that?
No, let's hold this.
We hold that.
Yes, people have to wonder.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right, but speaking of live winners, we actually have one for this show, Chris.
Well, and the live winner is the one who made a comment that kind of, rubbed us the wrong way. I can say this because he's a friend of mine. But it's Wet Coaster, and he gave us smack about talking about Canada. So, Wet Coaster, congratulations for that prize package to project-gc.com.
All right, and we do have another prize going out next week, and there's also going to be a live prize, so make sure to tune in live for that one. So get your emails ready for question 207. That's going to be your subject line. Address it to geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com, and in the body, drop your geocaching.com screen name and the area code that's for the whole state of Maine, because Dano told us there's only one area code for all of Maine.
I did not know that. Okay.
Neither did I. So that's going to be our question. So if you answer that right with your geocaching.com screen name and question 207 as the subject, have that to us by 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, December 16th. You have a chance at that prize from coinsandpins.com.
How cool is that? Can you believe it's already middle of December? What has happened?
No, I don't. I don't believe it, actually. No. I roll disbelief because it doesn't seem that it was that long ago that I took down the Christmas decorations and put them in the attic. Honestly, it felt like 2 or 3 months ago, and then we were just bringing them down once again. Didn't we just put these up? Yeah.
I mock the people that leave them up, well into January. Yes. But at this point, if we just leave them up, it's going to seem like 2 months, and we're already decorated for Christmas.
Right.
No, I can't do that. Well, I have told you almost every week the great job that Daryl does scheduling shows. We have shows scheduled not only through the end of next year or this year, but well into next year. So next week, December 17th, we're going to be talking, as we said, with Dano about cold weather caching. And in Maine, it gets cold. Just want to let you know. Now, December 24th, that's Christmas Eve. We're going to do live streaming. What does this mean? This means you get to be part of the show. So come on in and be part of the show with us. December 31st, we're doing even more randomized. This is XLI. This is XL taken to the next level. Okay, it's just taken to one more level. But
Goes to 11.
It goes to 11. January 7th, we're doing smartphone caching. This is our 4th podcast on smartphone caching. You're not going to want to miss that. January 14th, that's GeoGearHeads 211. We're talking about travelers.
Check the Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by calling 206-350-3647, by emailing geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com, or through social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniacs shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link in our website to support the Cachemaniacs shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Offenauer and Daryl Wanberg. This show is copyright 2015 by Daryl Wanberg. All rights reserved.
Cash with the Cachemaniacs.